Hi there, Star Wars collectors. Welcome to episode 38 of Ask Bossk's Bounty, the weekly series where you get to ask me questions in the comment section below, and I do my very best to answer them each week. I do apologise if I do not get round to answering your particular questions this week, but please don't let that put you off and leave your questions in the comment section below for next week's episode. And of course, if you do happen to like this video, drop a like down below because that really does help the video and the channel. And with all that being said, let's get straight on to the first question. Squidhead asks, do you think we will ever get any more weird aliens? Most of the new vintage collection are humans or masked characters, no droids either. So I do agree with that sentiment that there is very little other than humans or masked characters in the vintage collection recently. We are getting K2SO, which is a droid in the most recent wave that's starting to hit target over in the US. But you're absolutely right, we don't seem to be getting very many weird aliens like these ones here. And to be honest, I don't think it's going to improve anytime soon in terms of us getting weird aliens from, you know, the background scenes such as Herchek Kalfas there, these two guys from the Cantina, unless they bring out something which enables them to release all of those characters. So for example, if the Haslab project this year is the Cantina, then they will have to release lots and lots of figures and lots of weird aliens to go with it. A bit like when they released the barge and the skiff, they gave us all of the, or many of the skiff guards, and they re-released the Gamorrean guard. I would expect if there was some kind of alien that is a larger character in the Star Wars universe or in one of the films, such as this guy, then you would probably see that guy in the vintage collection purely on the basis that he's a main character. A bit like Queel, for example. He's a main character in the Mandalorian, and I would expect to see him in the vintage collection at some point in the near future. Bill Polk says, if they do a Haslab Sandcrawler, would you rather it be one from the New Hope or from the Mandalorian? I think maybe the Mandalorian for me, since Disney already did the New Hope one. So yeah, I get it. When I did the video about the Haslab project, what it could be, I sort of had my top 5. I had the Sandcrawler as the number 1, purely because that's kind of what I think would be pretty cool as a display piece for the vintage collection, and also I think it's kind of likely that they could do that. It's not beyond the realms of possibility. Would I like to see it as being the New Hope or the Mandalorian one? I would like to see them do both. I would like to see them do what they've done with the recent Millennium Falcon in terms of the dish, so you can have it for the sequel trilogy or the original trilogy. So with the Sandcrawler, what they could do is give you the Sandcrawler and then maybe give you all the attachments for the top, all the little tents and everything, and maybe even pack in a off-world Jawa. And then you've got the best of both worlds. Is the Sandcrawler any different from the one from New Hope than it is to the Mandalorian in some major way? I haven't inspected it that closely, but I'm pretty sure they could maybe cater for both. Corey Doe says, great video, Tim. Glad to see you completed your Ewok tribe. Thank you very much, Corey. Despite what some say and think, I grew up loving the Ewoks and still do. My question is, have you seen the Sherwood Forest playset? That was a Kenner Ewok playset with some greenery added. It looks really good. Might track one down someday. So yes, essentially what Kenner did is they use exactly the same mould for the Sherwood Forest as they did with the Ewok village, and also with the Gamorrean guard as well. That sculpt or mould was used for Friar Tuck. So if I can find any images for those, I'll bung them up on the screen while I'm talking about this. So yeah, that's what they did back in the day. So if you were to pick up a Sherwood Forest, it is basically the Ewok village, but with a load of greenery on top. Usual Mike Television says, hey Tim, I have a question for next week. What are your thoughts on the 3.75 inch G.I. Joe figures returning, and will you be getting any? Great episode once again. So thank you very much, Usual Mike. If anyone did see our live stream the other night that we did, I kind of answered this. We touched on it with Usual Mike on that stream, and essentially I'm a little bit disappointed in them. I think they look lovely, the card backs look great, but essentially what they've done is they've just stuck a fairly modern, I think it's the Toys R Us 2005 figures on those card backs. And if you're going to call it the G.I. Joe Retro Collection, similar to the Star Wars Retro Collection, then in my opinion you should have put the original retro figures or versions of those in the packets rather than some modern figure. Essentially what they've done is create the vintage collection for the G.I. Joe figures, but they're calling it the retro collection, so it doesn't really work in my opinion. But I have pre-ordered Storm Shadow purely just because I love white ninjas, as I mentioned in the live stream. I'm a kid from the 80s. I used to watch ninja films all the time. Enter the Ninja with the white ninja. such a great film. So yeah, I'm picking him up. Jared Shepherd says, what are the rarest figures you can get these days? So obviously we could touch on vintage Star Wars figures. We could go on about those all day. Some of those are worth thousands and thousands of pounds, but I'm presuming you're mentioning or talking about the modern line of figures. So I've put two out for you right now just to give you some kind of idea. So Yak Face here, he came with the barge. He is a reasonably rare figure, it's fair to say. And then one that you wouldn't really expect to be rare necessarily is Herchek Kalfas here from the Legacy Collection. He goes upwards of maybe £70 on eBay, $80, something like that, possibly even more. And there's plenty of figures like that. If you're talking about the vintage collection specifically, then obviously you've got the Jar Jar Binks in Carbonite. He goes for over $400. I think he was an exclusive that came in that Lost Line pack. You've got the two Revenge cards of the Mouse Droid and the Salacious Crumb. Both of those are extremely expensive. So in terms of the vintage collection, those ones I would say are the rarest. You've also got the Yoda Canadian card as well with the Return of the Jedi logo, VC20. Extremely rare, only released in Canada, and it's one I'm after actually. Martin Anderson says, congrats on 8k, love the channel. Thank you very much, Martin. You've been commenting for a very, very long time, so I do appreciate the support, my friend. He asks, will Rex be released in the vintage collection this year? So Rex will definitely be released in the vintage collection. And Yakface alluded to on a podcast that he did the other day that he will be in a wave at the end of the year. Obviously, we've seen no official word of this or any pre-orders up for it or anything like that. So hopefully it is the end of the year. He apparently is going to be in the same wave as the Armourer and Moff Gideon, which sounds like a dream wave to me. I can't wait for that. And hopefully Captain Rex will be of the same standard as those clones that we're getting in the ARC Trooper 3-pack, which look phenomenal. Darth Vader 11 says, who is your favourite character beside Bossk? So I'd probably have to say Darth Vader, I would say. Possibly Han Solo, Chewie, Luke. One of those. It's very, very difficult to pick my favourite character. I like them for different reasons, but I guess when I was a little kid, I used to pretend I was Han Solo, so maybe Han Solo, but you can't really discount the Dark Lord. He is, the baddest villain ever in the history of cinema, so he's got to be a favourite. Anthony Robinson says, hi Tim, great channel, keep up the awesome work. Thank you very much, Anthony. Question for next week. With all the upcoming rumoured releases on Yak Face, what figures do you think they will be and what would you like them to be? So as I say, the rumoured wave towards the end of the year or beginning of next year is going to include the Armourer, Moff Gideon and Captain Rex, and I think there was maybe one or two others which I can't remember right now. In terms of the other figures that have been rumoured that have got code names, then your guess is as good as mine. I really do not know. I would like more clones. I've got to admit that 3-pack has really whetted the appetite. I would love more ARC Troopers and maybe some updated clones from the 212th and the 41st Elite and things like that. Maybe some new Kashyyyk Troopers on vintage cards. That would be awesome. Anything from the Clone Wars would whet my appetite, and also anything from the Mandalorian I would snap up instantly as well. Jackson C says, does unpunched cards for vintage collection figures add value, and do you prefer your figures to be unpunched or do you not care? This is a good question actually. So I would say yes, it does increase the value. You can see my Yak Face here is unpunched, and he is the only figure from the new vintage collection since 2018 that is unpunched, because they've all come punched now. That's how they come. Figures from back in the vintage collection from 2010 to 2013, a lot of those did come unpunched, and I guess they're more valuable because they've never been on a peg. They're like case fresh figures, you could say, so that's probably why, and a lot of people like the unpunched look. Do I prefer it? To be honest, I'm not that precious about it. I guess they do kind of look pretty cool with the unpunched. I do have quite a few of them really. It's not something I chased down. It's basically when a figure that I needed became available. If it was unpunched or punched, I didn't really care. I just needed the figure on that card. But I'm just looking at my figures now as I'm talking to you, and I do have quite a few of them unpunched. But I guess do I care? Not really. because obviously the ones that are coming out now aren't unpunched, so it kind of makes that collection incomplete anyway, doesn't it, really? So you're not going to get every single vintage collection figure unpunched. It's impossible. Shakes the Clone says, question for next time. You've won a date with one of the Rebels cast. Your wife is fine with this. Do you take out Hera, Sabine, or adult Ahsoka? Probably out of those three, I'd pick Sabine, so long as she's old enough as well. She seems a pretty cool character, doesn't she? She can look after herself as well, and she can appreciate fine art, which is always a bonus. Gregory DeCola says, great video, Tim. Do you think we'll ever see the Bad Batch in the vintage collection or any 3.75 inch line? Do you think they will be on store shelves when the series come out? Hopefully Hasbro does not wait until a year after the premiere to get some decent figures on the pegs. Keep it up. So yeah, it would be very helpful, wouldn't it, if when that premieres they would get the figures out to us. And I've got a feeling that the vintage collection would have those figures included. Again, looking at that 3-pack that's just been revealed of the ARC Troopers, I see no reason why figures of that quality cannot be made, and certainly if they were to do the Bad Batch, they would have to be of that quality, you know, their armour and detail, very, very specific to each character. Will they get it in time for the show? I don't know. That show's kind of been announced early, hasn't it? So maybe that's going to give them a bit of time to sort themselves out and make sure we do get them. But 100% I'd snap those up as soon as they became available. Dylan James Chang says, I've just got back into collecting and have been buying up tons of expanded universe characters as an investment. Do you think Hasbro is ever going to start re-releasing the guys like Malgus, Revan, Mara Jade, etc.? Or do you think they're going to continue the way they are since those characters aren't canon? So Revan is definitely on their mind. They were going to release that figure until fans complained that it wasn't up to today's standards. So that figure's still on the back burner waiting to be recreated. They're definitely not going to reissue the one that everyone's got, the 30th anniversary one, so you don't need to worry about that. As for the others, I think, to be honest, the expanded universe figures are in a long queue of other figures and characters which are going to get done first. The amount of new media properties and things like that are coming out for Star Wars, they are going to have a massive problem with giving us all the figures as it is without going back to the expanded universe, which essentially they've pretty much cut off, haven't they? It's non-canon now. However, fans are fans, collectors are collectors. We want that kind of thing. Will they re-release them? I doubt it. I think you'll be all right with your investment. And that is it for this week's episode. I do appreciate you watching. Thank you very much, of course. And do hit that like button if you have enjoyed. And of course, as always, we'll see you on the next one.